Let's analyze the stock market trading session for Friday, April 1, 2022. This is a 5-minute chart of the S&P 500. It was a choppy session, open a bit higher, sell-off, bounce, sell-off, and then bounce and close very strong near the high of the day. So this is a daily chart. It dipped below the 100-day moving average, the 10, and these pivot points, and was able to bounce back above that at the end of the day. I don't really see a good setup yet. These are the levels that I'll be watching next week. For support, very strong support will be this pivot point around 44.90 and the 200-day moving average. Up here will be 4,600, between 4,600 and 40, say 45.75. This is a 5-day, the 5-day moving average. I want to see how it behaves once it gets above this level, around this level. And if it pushes about 40, if it can push about 4,600, then I'll be looking for an entry point to go long. If, however, it decides to go south and dips below the 200-day moving average down here, I will be looking for an entry point to go short. Anything here in between, I think it could be very choppy. I can end up with an up day, a down day. I don't want to play that. I'm looking for a bigger multi-day move. I am sure it will move out of this range next week. But of course, if a different setup develops next week, then I will tell you about it. For now, I'm just going to be a spectator. Now for the NASDAQ 100, this one, I'm looking for this range that I'll be watching very closely. That'll be below today's low and last week's pivot point. This red zone, that's where the 100-day and the 200-day moving average merge. Pushes about that, say 15,200. It could be a good buying opportunity. I will be looking for an entry point at that point. Dips below this level, and that could even be a shorting opportunity. Today's price action, now it is between these moving averages. It was a dip and a bounce back above the 10-day moving average. So very difficult to be bearish after a 3-day move to the downside and found support around the 10-day moving average back above it. So now for resistance, I would expect resistance, the 5-day moving average, that's the blue line. We'll see how it behaves when it gets there. But anything here in between, I think, is going to be very choppy. You can end up with one up day, down, up. I'm not looking for a 1 or 2-day move. I'm looking for a bigger move. So I will wait until it pushes above this level or down below this level, which I think will have better chances of having a multi-day move. So I will be watching these levels very closely next week. Now for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, very similar price action intraday. Now between moving averages, so I don't see a setup, not long, not short. Pushes back above this level around 35,000, and it could be a good buying opportunity. Dips below, say, the 50-day moving average, and I could see, a short, but no, not really. I mean, it'll probably be very close to the 20-day moving average, so expect strong support around that area, so take that back. Summary, it is stuck between this level, the 50 and 34,400, and this level up here. So in between could be very choppy. I don't really see a good reason to trade it. Yeah, you can have, buy go long and then up one day and then the following day is down. So it could be very choppy. I think the bigger move will happen when it pushes about this level or below this level. Maybe by then, the 20-day moving average will be converging with the 50-day moving average. For the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, this has been the weakest of all the indices. This one was able to dip below the 50. I mean, look at the magnitude of this move, a 3-day move. Went from here all the way down to here. That's a big move. But the bullish part about it that it was able to bounce and close back above the 20-day moving average. That's the pink line here. Levels that I'll be watching very closely next week will be, well, of course, today's low that will confirm a breakdown below the 20-day moving average, which could be very bearish, which means also at that point, if it happens, that it will be back below all major moving averages. If it decides to go north, then it has the 50-day moving average to deal with. There's very strong resistance around this area also, so I'm just gonna watch it for now. And if it pushes above this level, that'll be back above the 10 and the 5-day moving average, and that pivot point that could I would consider buying at that point. However, it is here, like I said, stuck between all these moving averages. Even though it sounds very tempting, looks very tempting to buy after this bounce, it is so close to the 20-day moving average, and I believe that if it dips below that again, I don't think this time it's going to push back above that. I think the probability of that happening is very low, and a short setup could be very attractive. So for this one, I'll be watching this area very closely and this one up here. And now for the Russell 2000. This one, believe it or not, looks stronger than the other indices. The fact that it's just trading back around the 5-day moving back above the 10-day moving average, and it closed around the 5-day moving average. However, we have very strong resistance here, this area between 210 and 28. And of course, you got this 100-day moving average, which acted as very strong resistance on the way up here. So, and down here you have major support also. You have the 20, you have this pivot point around 202.5 and the 50. So here in between, I'm really doing nothing. I don't really see a good setup. Breaks above, the 100-day moving average, or at least that 210 level, and might be a good buying opportunity. Short below the 50-day moving average, but it's so far away. Looks like this one wants to consolidate closer to this upper range and try to push higher. We'll see what happens next week, but this one's looking stronger than the other indices. And remember, the news follow the stock market and not the other way around, with very few exceptions. Just wanted to share that with you. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck trading next week.